very simple in my Discord.
All right, we're live.
Neat. All right. Find my second win somewhere. Nope, didn't find it. All right, we're just going to make it work. All right, so last session, you had a bit of exploration mixed in with a little bit of combat and a little bit of some investigation going on. You found yourselves brought back by Aurea Lacarnos, the Silver Dragon, who you knew as Elia, this elf woman you had met before, who turned out to be an ancient silver dragon who was involved within this metallic dragon council that was being held that you ventured out to and stated your case, trying to get them to work along with the Council of Waterdeep, and you seem to... Ooh, gotta mute that. You seem to be able to do that, but it's the only bad thing about Firefox, it doesn't keep muted tabs. I have to do it every time. So yeah, you were able to go to the council, and she flew you back as you needed to go investigate the Misty Forest, as there had been some dragon attacks here. Some of the villages within the Misty Forest being entirely destroyed, down to the last elf, woman, man, and child. So with that, Elia bidding you farewell to go back and meet with the other metallic dragons, you all set through, able to find some direction by a member of the Emerald Enclave, one Hagre Perberos that you met along the trail, who appeared before you as a old and gray dire wolf, but shapeshifted into his elven form before you. He gave you some directions to follow a couple of pathways to lead you to the village of Altand, where you had been sent by another member of the Emerald Enclave, Davian, Winterhound, if I remember his name correctly. Had sent you out there initially with the lead that the Misty Forest needed to be more investigated, and Altand was the place to start. As you venture forward, going along the path, it was a mostly uneventful travel up until you found a orc raiding party that you eventually came to know sometimes populate these woods of the Misty Forest and attack elvish settlements, which led you to believe to why these elvish settlements, these villages, were built within the trees, made it very difficult for the orcs to attack them easily. But you were able to fight off these orcs that attacked you, though some of them were a bit formidable, hitting pretty hard with their weapons, as well as some spell crafting being used, but they were no match for you, unfortunately for them. You continued on, heading towards the village of Altan, following Hagre's directions, deciding to keep going through the night instead of making camp as he had initially suggested. As you ventured through the night, it seemed that it was a bit more dangerous to travel through the forest at night, as you found yourself assaulted by 3 grotesque-looking, shambling mounds of vegetation, brought to sentience by some form of magic or the earth rebelling against you. You weren't sure, but the creatures, while a bit formidable, a bit scary, one of them even able to engulf one of the party members and hold him there for a few moments, thinking they maybe have disappeared forever. But he was able to break free, and the 3 creatures were slain. As you continued on through the night, towards the midnight hours, you were able to arrive at the village of Altand, only noticing it really in the trees by the faint glimmer of torches up above your head. You were confronted by some guards that weren't threatening. They seemed to have known that you were coming based on your descriptions and such. They offered you a large kind of common room for the night to rest off your weariness and get a good night's sleep in, and then continue your investigation of Althand the next morning, the elves being willing to cooperate with you within reason, of course. As you awoke the next morning, you found a bountiful feast of berries and vegetables and fruits and such brought before you by the elves to give you a nice breakfast and for them to display their hospitality. As you scarfed it down, you asked the guard who you had met the night before, named Elario, a little bit about what happened here in Altand. He described the dragon attack that had happened, and this dragon attack was a bit different than the others. Altand, in fact, still stood. It was a bit destroyed from the dragon attack initially, but this dragon seemed to have pulled the advance off, and the cult that followed it in its wake also pulled off their attack instead of slaying everyone within and stealing all of the valuables within the village. You discovered some mixed reports back and forth about this dragon attack, learning that the dragon was the spearhead of this assault, swooping to the ground and attacking on the ground first, killing about half of the villagers that perished during this initial attack. You learn that humans in the regalia of the Cult of the Dragon, this black and purple, tainted with green that you came to find, followed the dragon in, killing anyone they came in contact with. The village's priest, who had been amongst the fighting, stepped out to lead others against the dragon, but unfortunately the dragon swallowed him whole. Some of the survivors of the village claimed to have seen a cultist strangely riding atop the dragon. There were mixed reports about this rider, though, and whether or not he actually existed or not is come into question. You also learned that with the priest dead, the village's warden, Galen, had become the leader of Altand. And he spoke with you, went through questioning, though he did echo much the same of what you'd heard from Ilario after questioning him. You also learned, finally, like I said, the attack lasted a very short time, and then the dragon unexpectedly retreated, and the cultists followed after. But as they fled, they seemed to take nothing of value from the village. This was in stark contrast to the dragon's other raids, which seemed to be focused on capturing treasure. So with that, you've talked to Galen. It's heading towards midday. You kind of slept in a bit, especially with arriving towards midnight. So to get your full long rest in, you kind of slept in until mid-morning or so. So it's heading towards high sun at this point. You're still within the village of Altand after just stepping out of Galen's modest estate up in the trees, and you are still within the tree village of Altand. What do you want to do?
Bring it on!
Thank you, Joe, for the host.
Well, nobody seems to really know where the dragon went.
Very much appreciated.
So chasing him down seems kind of like a fool's errand, right?
I think the end of the last session we talked about gathering the town folk together to try to get to the bottom of the mystery of the rider.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's right.
Because we have a bunch of conflicting stories about did the rider exist or did they not? And I remembered, I think it was you, Max, that mentioned to pull the citizens together and try to get a cohesive story.
Yeah, we should try and get a consensus, so we're still waiting for anyone from the Enclave to show up. And this might give us some information on how to go forward.
Yep.
So yeah, let's what's Ilaria or Ilario. Let's see if we can track down Ilario and make that happen.
All right. So you set off back through the tree village, leaving Galen's home behind. Moving through it, you see elves here and there. You are still able to observe some damage, scarred trees, as well as some destroyed homes within the trees. The ground below you showing much more damage from torn soil and dirt torn asunder from a large creature moving through the area. You assume the dragon, as well as small fires that must have burned some of the foliage around in the area before, as it doesn't mimic the kind of pockmarked, almost poisonous damage done to some of the trees as well as some of the other foliage. Once again, you assume the dragon's attacks from its breath weapon. You see still a few elves moving here and there. You don't see Ilario initially. You do remember that Ilario was on guard the night prior, and was also awake the morning after you had awoken yourselves rather. But you don't see him now. You might assume that he might have gone to get some rest and such with his watch being over. after greeting you in the morning. But you can ask around, maybe find some people, and maybe ask around and see if you can find out where he's staying.
Yeah, trying to find we can stop somebody in the street too, like a young kid. Kind of like the similar they've used those for messengers. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, anyone really with an offer of coin for a message to be delivered. We don't know our way around.
As you're looking around, you actually don't see many, if any, children. And as you see a few men and women walking by, you kind of inquire about this. And one elven woman responds that the children right now are being kept in a safe place away from the village, just in case there's another attack. They do not want to risk their young being slain by the dragon or the cult. So for the time being, they are elsewhere. But as you inquire further with this woman, she knows of Ilario and knows of his home, kind of pointing off to the southeast of your current position, over kind of towards the offshoot of the middle of the village itself, and points to a particular hovel, only a few windows across it, a very simple abode, and kind of points over, saying that's his house. I believe he may be in a trance currently, but if you were to knock on his door, I'm sure he would hear you.
Awesome. Well, thank her for help. And palm, put a gold piece in her palm. Um, just kind of a gracious gesture. And then start making my way over to his homestead.
Okay. With that, she smiles and thanks you for it, taking it graciously. And then you head off towards Ilario's house. As you do so, you arrive a few minutes later. You see a few of the elves around you, the scene kind of changing a bit as a few of them head over to some larger buildings that you recognize now, resembling very closely the common room that you had stayed in. And you kind of assume maybe these are common rooms made for dining together and such. The family aspect of elves being very strong. Dining together is no strange sight for them. As you approach up to this building, once again, very natural. Everything here, the trees being the main centerpiece of this entire village, but even with these small buildings, these small houses and hovels and such built around them, they almost flow into the trees as if they had been grown by them. It's a bit of a spectacular sight, really, for those of you who have lived around villages and cities and such all your lives. Never seen abodes or a village quite like this one. But as you approach it, you see a small, plain-looking door with some interwoven wood making it up. And you knock, rapping on the front door. Silence reigns for a few moments, and then you hear a familiar voice saying, "Yes, yes, 1 second." And then the door opens, and you see Ilario standing before you instead of his leather armor that you have witnessed him wearing before. Now he has a simple kind of robe on, standing before you. He looks over and says, my friends, did you have more questions?"
Um, Perhaps not more questions, but a request. We've heard conflicting stories on the nature of the attacks, and I feel the only way to truly get a grasp on what happened would be to gather all available members of the of Altan in a council of sorts, to get down to the bottom of this and see what we can do about further protecting this village.
With that, you see Arlario kind of nodding and thanking. Says, "It's possible, I suppose. You do have to remember that these people were just attacked. As I said, it's been just a handful of days since the attack hit our village. Some of them lost ones they hold very dear. They may have trouble recalling things with clarity, but if you feel that a meeting is necessary or would be valuable, to your investigation, then I can speak with Galen and possibly set one and arrange one for tonight.
Yeah, thank you. We do think it would be best. We don't intend to prolong or make anyone suffer unnecessarily. But there's information that hopefully will expedite our process.
That Erlario, still with a bit of a hesitant look in his eyes, kind of nods. As it's certainly a different approach, but I will speak to Galen. Give me a bit of time to freshen up and such. You see him kind of looking down at his robes. And I will speak to him afterwards, and we'll see if we can arrange something for this evening.
We will. Thank you. We'll spend the rest of our time in the accommodations you provided for us, and we'll await your word. A word from you.
That Erlario nods, once again saying he'll see about speaking with Galen, making sure you knew where the winding tree passages back to your common room, kind of pointing off to it in the distance, and shuts his doors and heads back inside. Everybody good with going back to the common room to wait?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I'll race you guys there. I'll jump off the top of the tree and unfurl my wings.
Please don't
I
leave
kick
me.
off.
Unintended. I need an adult to make it through here.
Don't worry, I'll help you.
Tara just carefully clinging to the vines that make up the railings of this tree fortress or tree village, not able to
If
see
these ones is
things.
attacked by a dragon, I'd be jumping all over the place, flying around. I don't want to scare anybody.
All right, so with that, you make your way back through the forest, or through the village rather, of Altand, and find yourself back at this still somewhat small, but definitely large enough for all of you to relax comfortably, this common room that you had slept the night before. You find yourself sitting there as midday comes by, and you see another very similar feast as to the morning, brought before you by the same two younger elves. Not quite children, but like I said, younger compared to the others. They set the wood and woven bowls before you, filled with fruits, vegetables, some loaves of warm bread mixed into the feast compared to this morning, as well as all sorts of things from the forest itself. As you all sit around eating and kind of discussing amongst yourselves, you hear another rapping on the door, and without waiting for you to answer, you see it open, and Erlario steps in. As he looks over all of you, he kind of nods a greeting. Back in his studded leather and such, he's got a bit of a weary look. And looks like you probably could have used a little bit more sleep, but carries on as any good guard or soldier would do, which he definitely represents both in this village. With that, he addresses you all. He says, "I have a couple of pieces of news for you. Word has arrived that Prince Alagarthus will be arriving this evening. His investigations, along with the Emerald Enclave, are leading him this way now. I believe you said that you wanted to speak with him when he arrived, so I have sent a messenger off to him to make sure he is aware of your presence here, and he should seek you out when he arrives as well. About the meeting, I spoke to Galen, and though he initially thought it wouldn't be a bad idea, and I don't believe he thinks it's so, he's worried about the effect it may have on his people. You understand he is the leader here now. With the priest dying, Galen has stepped up and taken a leadership role here, and he worries about their mental attitudes towards the attacks, and having to recall those not some days afterwards, after already having to answer to the other rangers and guards that are still left alive, when we question them, and then doing it over again, he's worried that may cause issues with them. He's agreed to talk to a few. He has set out to speak to a few of the villagers, some of the elders that survived the attack, and see what they think, but he has not made a decision quite yet on whether or not he will call for this meeting or not.
No. Well, we understand. And added strife is not something we want to bring to your people. We're just trying to figure out the best way to help. And if you think that we will defer to the both of your judgment on this.
With that, he nods, says, "We all lost someone, at the very least, that we cared about in that attack. It was savage and, unfortunately, unexpected to come to our village. Even Galen lost his wife, Kaelessa. Beautiful woman, very kind, and unfortunately she was on the ground helping to pick for the evening's feast of the village when the dragon attack happened, and she was unfortunately lost in the first assault. I think it does weigh heavily on his mind."
Stone Skull is gonna kind of like frown a bit and look towards, what's this guy's name again? I can't remember his name.
Lario.
Ilario. Gonna look to Ilario and say, why would Galen not tell us this? This seems like a pretty important thing to not mention.
With that, Lario kind of frowns and shrugs, says, "I'm not too sure, honestly. It could be just a memory he does not want to revisit now. He's still very much in the grief period, I suppose. Some take more time than others."
I don't like it.
Yeah, thank you. We will then wait here for the prince. We'll have hopefully we'll have more information for all of us.
Okay. With that, Olario nods to you all and says, "Once I hear any word from either Prince Alagarthus or from Galen, I will let you know one way or another. Until then, do enjoy your lunch, and I will be seeing you soon." With that, he bows to you all and then proceeds to exit out of the common room.
That doesn't strike anybody else as odd.
No, I mean, yeah, it's a smaller, more intimate village, and they did, just have a traumatic event. I don't see. Well, it's just difficult, letting these people, grieve how they need to.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, like I said, I'm, just
I can't.
down to kind of hang out. They didn't seem like they needed our help with anything. I don't personally need their help with anything.
Okay. All right. So with that, you finish off your lunch feast. A couple of elves coming in to remove the remnants of it. Once again, just way too much food, even for the 5 of you to consume together. But you get done eating and kind of relax a bit, enjoying the scenery and such. Even this somewhat torn asunder village is still remarkably beautiful for what it is. Just the structures within it, and of course the beautiful elf people of this village moving to and from, kind of nodding to you through the windows and such, being very friendly to you. You find yourself sitting there for a few more hours as evening begins to arise, and it's been very quiet throughout the day. Not really hearing shouting and such that you would normally expect inside normal villages filled with humans and dwarves and such. It's very quaint and quiet here. As evening arrives, the sun beginning to set, and the mist that this forest is named after beginning to creep in a bit around the trees and such, obscuring the area a bit and giving it on a bit more whimsical look um, than during the day. You start to hear some noise from outside the village, and as you exit out of the common room, kind of moving out to the balcony that surrounds it, you look off to the north, and you see a small group of elves, about 12 or 13 or so, moving through, but all of them are wearing very fine attire. You see the glint of metal coming off of their armor instead of the leather that you see a lot of the villagers wearing. You see that they all wear minus one individual amongst the group, all of them wearing similar regalia, tainted with these forest greens and such, all across their armor and capes that they have flowing behind. All of them outfitted in the same large, almost ivory colored bows resting on their back, and two curved short swords resting at their hips, all elegantly made, even to your untrained eyes from a distance. One individual does look a bit different based on his regalia and attire compared to the others. You see a plumed helmet with a long feather kind of going off the back and trailing down towards his hair. You see he has rich golden hair going down his back as he moves in. You see a kind smile on his face as he greets a few villagers who have moved forward to greet the men as well as him. You assume this is probably Prince Aligarthus and his retinue.
Yeah, just kind of see where, where they're heading in town.
Okay. Everybody but Tara, give me perception checks. Okay. Um, as Rogar and Stone Skull kind of compare notes about the swords these men are wielding, kind of seeing if they're actually good or not, not really paying too much attention to the group. The rest of you start paying a bit close attention, seeing their movements and such. You see that this group of elves is moving in a coordinated fashion around the man that you assume is Prince Aligarthus. They move in a respectful distance, but they're always watching around them, keeping an eye out. You come to surmise that oh, you did. Never mind. Sorry, that was your insight. Oops. Yeah, Rogar's just staring at swords.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot I told Tara not to roll. I counted 5 and I was like, yeah, 5. We're good. Once again, you see everybody kind of moving up to Prince Aligarthus and greeting him, and he talks to each individual that moves up towards him, but this honor guard around him is keeping a sharp eye out. You do notice a couple people you're familiar with. You see Galin as well as Orlario down in the group that move forward and begin talking to the prince. After Galin finishes talking, seeming giving off greetings and such to him, you see Orlario bowing deeply towards the prince and speaking to him for a few brief moments. You then see Prince Aligarth's gaze turn up towards the trees and looks directly towards your hovel. He seems to catch sight of all of you kind of looking over the edge of this balcony that you're standing on, looking down at him, and you see a bit of a wide smile crossing his lips as he faintly nods to the distance. He's a couple hundred feet away from you, but kind of nods in your direction, and then he begins striding off directly towards the tree that your common room is built upon. As this whole retinue begins moving, you see people beginning to respectfully clear out, kind of greeting, but from a distance, giving him a space. And Prince Aligarthus still continues to smile and nod at everyone, giving greetings. And as he gets closer, you can hear him offering condolences for their losses and such. Seems that his presence here has given a bit of an excitement or a bit of hope to this village, based on how everyone's acting as they see him and are left in his wake, kind of in a good mood instead of the somber kind of attitude that you've noticed in this village throughout the day. There's a bit of hope sparked now. After a few minutes, you see a couple of his retinue joining him more closely as he makes his way over to one of these large wooden platforms that you recognize as the kind of elevators going up and down from the ground level up to the village level. This one only being one bridge away from your abode currently. Him and two of his guards move up and they begin walking towards you. And as you're all standing outside, kind of nodding towards him as Prince Aligarthus moves forward, he opens his arms wide, almost as in an embrace, but kind of taking you all in. He says, "Ah, the heroes I've heard so much about. It's good to finally meet you. My father has spoke. Well, my father has spoke highly as he does anyone, I guess, which is he's grumbled and complained about you, but with an admiring eye, I suppose."
It is, it's a pleasure to meet you as well, Your Highness. You have a hearty people here. We just wish to help however possible.
With that, the prince nods and kind of inclines his head towards you and says, "Yes, the elves were once far greater than they are now, but that is not important, I suppose. One day they will return to their former glory, but right now we have more dire problems to address. If you'll join me," and he kind of motions to the common room, and him and his retinue start to move and kind of moving through you and start leading you into the common room itself.
Yeah, just kind of fall in line.
Mm-hmm. Everybody joining.
The conga line of elves.
Yeah.
All right. So as you make your way inside, kind of grabbing seats and such, you see the two guards have kind of stationed off to the door in the back of the room, kind of just silently watching guard, keeping their necessary duties in line, to be the prince's honor guard. You start to notice a few things about their armor now that it's a little bit closer. You see that they both have these green leaves made out of some kind of metal. You assume, or maybe a crystal, you're not too sure, but it's intricate and almost emerald green across it. You recognize this symbol as a symbol of the Emerald Enclave. And while Prince Aligarthus does not wear the particular leaf that his men do, you assume that he's being guarded and helped out by the Emerald Enclave in his investigation here, much the same as you have been. As you all sit down, kind of sitting down with Aligarthus, you see a few elves bringing in something that you haven't seen thus far in the village, rich wine, which is brought in for the prince, but more tankards of it. These, tankards being a crude word for these very intricate-looking large containers for the wine, made entirely of woven wood, set down in front of you, and glasses are proffered and such. And as you all sit down, Aligarthus looks through you all and kind of nods, says, "Well, I would." Excuse me. I was told by a friend of ours, a mutual friend. Make sure I've got his name right, actually. Nope, not that one. This one. Delon Winterhound. I believe he spoke to you at the last council, based on my information. He said that you were coming here to help investigate the village of Altand. So on that note, I've done my best to not let my ears be tainted by others' words. What have you come to figure out here? What happened?
There are details that still remain unanswered, but a dragon attacked the village, and during the attack was called away or left for some reason. Still we don't have the answer to.
They said the attack was different than the others.
With that, Prince Aligarthus nods, says, "Yes, it does appear to be so. I've visited a few of the other villages that were attacked by the cult, and unfortunately, a very somber expression crossing his face as he kind of clutches his hands in front of him around his glass of wine. Says, "There's nothing left of those villages. They were torn asunder, all the buildings destroyed, the ground, the beautiful earth beneath it, the trees around them, completely desecrated and destroyed. No people that remained behind were left alive. Only a few survivors were able to tell of their village even being attacked. No wealth was left behind. It seems that they still are gathering treasure and such to offer for these dragons or for their maniacal purpose of resurrecting Tiamat. I'm not sure, but for them to be completely destroyed and Altan to be spared did strike me as odd. Have you found any reason for this?"
We have perhaps a few guesses, but no concrete information. It seems that the chaos of the event has produced different outlooks on what exactly happened.
You say outlooks. What do you mean by that?
We've heard mixed reports of soldiers on the front line reporting that the dragon had a rider. We've heard reports that the battle left after the cleric was eaten by the dragon. All of these may be of import, but we can't decipher what's true and what's not.
At that, Prince Aligarthus kind of leans back, musing over your words and sipping from his wine, or from his wine rather. Seems to think for a few minutes and then leans forward again. Says, "I cannot think of anything of importance here. This is just another village. Nothing of importance was kept here. The priest that ruled over it was a good man, but not one of any higher social standing or anything of that nature. I don't understand why any of that would cause them to retreat."
Is there any significance between the three villages that were attacked? Or is Altan's any different in any way than the other two that were razed to the ground?
I can't.
With that, Prince Aligarthus thinks, as there have been 5 attacks so far that I have heard about. 2 of the villages that I ventured to in my investigation were attacked before Altan, and 1 after. There was one thing that was a bit unsettling. I wasn't sure if it was just they were getting more conniving or cunning in their attacks, but the first 2 villages that were destroyed, they were done with just overwhelming force. A dragon, obviously, being enough to provide that, but it was haphazard, chaotic. They charged in from random directions after setting up an initial attack with the dragon itself, and they were slow and arduous processes of going through and slaying the villagers and stealing their wealth and then destroying what was left of the village. Altan was the 3rd one I heard of being attacked, but then it was spared. And there was another village much closer, a bit more deep into the Misty Forest itself, that was attacked. But this attack, the village that was destroyed was much larger than Altan and the others. We had, as you get closer to the main capital of the Misty Forest itself, where me and my father reside, with other of the noble bloodlines of the elves here. The villages grow larger and are more fortified against whatever may come, orcs or random creatures in the forest and such. There are sentries set up miles outside of the city, or outside of the village, rather. There are defenses, such as ballistae and things of that nature, within the trees. When this village was attacked, I don't know how they would have gotten this information, but the defenses were targeted first. It seems that the dragon flew through the air and was able to know exactly where to attack to cripple the ballistae and such that protected the village. It seemed that they knew where to go before they arrived. But once again, I'd assumed maybe there was a spy amongst the mists and such, but my investigations have not produced any results of indicating a spy, at least thus far.
Man,
That is troubling information.
I can't. I just can't.
Our next thought was to try and track down these cultists and their dragon. But we weren't able to really glean any information on the direction that they left.
With that, Prince Elegarthus nods, sipping from his wine once again. Says that makes sense. Tracking would be very difficult at the moment. Massacres, as I'm sure you know, are usually very chaotic. Even now, I have some of the best rangers in the realm with me in my retinue of my honor guard, but even them I'm not sure would be able to track a dragon, especially if it took flight at any point in its travels away from this village.
No, I would imagine though that the sizable number of foot soldiers would leave some trail.
Danny nods, says it's possible, but the forest is sometimes like a barren tundra with snow falling constantly. Though no snow falls here, leaves and the earth and the animals change the landscape uh, by every minute. It's very well possible we may find some trails, but it's been some time since the attack happened. It may be very difficult for us to track them at this point.
What I feel as if we're not any closer to establishing a solution now as we were when we got here.
Can I insight check this guy?
What are you inciting?
I don't know. It just seems like he's given us a lot of negatives and no real positives.
So, what are you inciting?
I just want to see if he's, I don't know, lying, holding something back.
Okay.
If any part of that seems like it's like, the partial truth.
All right, give me an insight check.
Womp.
As you're listening to Prince Elegarthus, you see, frowns and creases of worry across his face. As he speaks, you don't get any traces of lies. He's done his best to wait for your report, essentially, about what happened here before getting information. He's just now kind of mulling it over in his head and trying to come up with answers. But he seems kind of at the same impasse that you were at. He doesn't seem to know why the cult why the cult stopped their attack here. It doesn't seem like anyone has the information at this point. Doesn't seem to be lying.
Well,
I'm telling you, I still think Galen
Alright.
knows something and he's not talking.
No,
mean,
I
that's
think the only thing we can get out of this is they showed up and they knew about the defenses, right? And even if you can't identify, a source of the leak, that might mean that, other settlements are also compromised. Might be good to send them word, tell them to rearrange, how they've fortified themselves.
With that, Prince Elegarthus nods, says that's already being taken care of. I once again assume that there may be a spy of some kind going about, so alterations have begun progress closer to the capital, to the villages there, but if any more attacks happen in the near future, it may be too little too late. I was hoping to maybe discover more in my venture here in your investigation as well as my own, to maybe figure out exactly what is going on here. And at the very least, see if we can find where this dragon's lair may be. I've had scouts combing over the area, but the Misty Forest is quite large, and most of its reaches very uncivilized. It's hard to go through it finely without a very large amount of time devoted to it.
I just, I can't say
What was I
anything.
gonna say? Yeah, the only other point of business, after we left the last council meeting in Waterdeep, we went to the High Council of Dragons, and we're witness there, and we're the mouthpiece for the mortals of the Sword Coast. We made concession with the dragons that we would get a written apology from yourself, speaking on behalf of the Emerald Enclave and the Elven Nations, or from your father, apologizing for the Draco Lich Mythal, or Draco Rage Mythal.
As you say that, you see Prince Aligarthus is sipping his wine, kind of listening. And as you say, an apology needs to be written from his father. He starts to spit out his wine, looking up at you with a raised eyebrow. He says, "You did not hold back in negotiations, then, I guess. It's would not be impossible, but it may be a wall in your way to have my father apologize for that. The Draco Rage Mythal, you said. That was a troubling time, a long, long time ago. I was barely a boy then. And you said you promised an apology for it.
And in return for gaining favor with the dragons in the upcoming attack against the well."
With that, you see Prince Aligarthus kind of scratching his chin and nodding and thinking. Says it makes sense. Dragons are a proud race of beings, and the Draco Ridge Mythal was a devastating spell cast upon them. It killed many, drove many more mad, chromatic and metallic alike. It was not a proud moment for the elven people, but one that we deemed was necessary at the time.
I believe the apology is, or I believe that they understand that it was done at a time, maybe where it was necessary, but the fact that it was one that did not target those that were causing issue, it targeted all of them. I feel as if they were needlessly targeted for something they had no part in.
With that, he nods, says it was an indiscriminate attack, really. It was during the time of dragons, and, well, they were ruling these lands as well as others at the time, and the Draco Rage Mythal was a way of fighting back, I suppose, though a very barbaric one by most standards. Yes, but the apology, he kind of muses over the thoughts. My father himself writing the apology. That would be a sight to see. You may just be able to do it, I'm not sure. If it was presented with the council, he seems to think, kind of choosing his words. My father has a mindset of dominance, I suppose, or not necessarily dominance, I guess. More so a superiority complex, I think. He's been alive for longer than most creatures will ever be and ever have been. He's seen things, empires rise and fall, as I have, but not on the same stage as him, though I do hope to change that eventually. But I was alive. I did not have a personal part to play in that particular mythal, but I was alive during the time of dragons. I could write the apology for it in the stead of my father, maybe save you a headache and some coarse words sent your direction at the very least, and a bounty on your heads at worst. But if I did it, my father would understand, probably.
We were given clear instruction that it would to be him or someone who could speak for him, and I can think of no one else that would be able to that would satisfy that claim, aside from someone of his heir, his blood.
Sorry,
With
guys.
that, he nods, says, "Yes, only me and one other far dead, unfortunately. My half-brother named Kolvar, unfortunately, was killed some time ago. But I am his only son, and I do hold sway over the council of the elves here. I have all rights to the throne and all of that nonsense, though I want more than just a throne here in the trees. But that is another story for another time. If it is something that would aid the council as well as aid the elves and the Sword Coast as a whole, though I am not part of the council, I have heard a great deal about it and know most of the goings on during each council session, after a fashion, of course. I could play the part of speaking for my father if you would like that. It's your choice, ultimately, of course. If you would much rather have it from my father, you can try that venture. I welcome you to do so.
What do you think, guys?
I definitely think that he should be the one. His father does not seem like the man who would write such a letter.
Right. And Prince seems pretty good.
As long as he can write it on behalf of the nobility.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it is kind of like an all or nothing thing. Yeah, I'd say go for it.
All right.
Okay. So have
Yeah, we'll,
Prince Aligarthus have read the apology?
yeah.
Okay. Alright, so after confirming that you want him to do it, thinking he has all the rights to do so, being alive, being a noble born, he nods, says, "Very well. I will write an apology and, at the very least, have it delivered to yourselves or the council. It will take some time for me to write something adequate for those that will receive it. You understand, of course. I have to choose my words very carefully with them."
Yeah, please. They seem to enjoy being verbose, so don't make it
With
too
that,
short.
he kind of laughs under his breath. He says, "They, as I said before, are a very, very proud race." With that, he leans back, says, "Now that that is settled, back to our current predicament. Who is it that you have spoken to here in the village that gave you the information that you've gleaned thus far?"
Our main point of contact has been, I know you just had it right,
Gallon.
Ilario. And Warden Eroven. Is that how you say it?
Gallon was Warden's name.
Oh, Gallon's right. Yeah.
With that, Argothris nods, says, "I've met both of them as I entered. Ilario seems to have been named the new warden for the village, and Galen the leader and protector of it. They both seem like upright men. They wouldn't falsify things, I don't think.
I question Gallon's intent.
With that, Argothus raises an eyebrow and looks over towards you, Stone Skull. Why do you do so?
We asked him for details, and he left out very important details. Maybe by accident, but I remember when my tribe was attacked, I couldn't forget my family dying. And if somebody asked, that would be the first thing I would mention.
With that, Argothus nods, as it is a traumatic experience, especially for those of us the elves who find our partners and spend centuries with them. Don't know why he would omit that. Very well. If nothing else, that is where we'll start. And with that, Argothus stands up, setting down his wine cup. He kind of looks around at the group. I don't think I need all of you. One or two of you, please join me. Let's go have a chat with Gallon.
Stone Skull's gonna look at Max and say, "May I go?"
Yeah. Look to Ignalia. Would you like to take this, or should I?
Yes, I think that might be for the best. I'm highly critical of this whole situation.
I fear my and Rogar's presence doesn't bring anything positive to the table.
Well, perhaps not. But in case you need to gather information, I suppose there are other ways. And I'm just going to kind of throw a look at him and then Rogar.
Saying, perhaps the group of you can come away with some information. Gets us closer to solving this riddle.
Yeah, we'll do what we can.
All right. So who's going with Argothus?
Me, Stone Skull, Tara, what you doing?
Oh, I'm babysitting the Dragonborn.
We need it.
These trees are highly flammable.
All right. So three of you
Yeah,
will
let
remain
me-
behind. And Ignalia and Stone Skull will go with Alagarthus. Okay? So with that, both the guards begin moving with the prince, but he kind of waves one off, kind of motioning to you to stay with you all. One guard follows along as you start making your way through the tree village. At this point, dusk is setting. Darkness is starting to take over the forest. Still some glimmers of twilight above your head, casting it, the village itself in hues of red and orange. But you make your way forward, heading over towards Gallon's Monis estate once again. As you move through, going up to the small, cozy sitting room, you see Gallon is once again here after his forays into the village itself. As he sees you initially entering before Prince Alagarthus, he kind of raises a hand. He says, "I do apologize for not calling the meeting you requested, but I feared for the emotional stability of my people. I hope you can understand that." And as she's saying that, and you're all walking in, Prince Alagarth is following you in. He stands up, looking up. He says, "Oh, Your Highness, I do apologize for my rudeness," and deeply bows to him. As he does so, Alagarthus simply raises a hand. He says, "No need for that. Please sit, Gallon. We just want to go over some information once again, this time with my ears included. I would like to hear about the dragon attack as it happened before you. I believe that you were very close to the attack based on what I've been told by my friends here." With that, Gallon kind of glances back and forth between Ignalia and Stone Skull and nods. So, of course, Your Highness. And he starts recounting the tales once again. Says that the dragon attacked first before the cultists flooded in. He said he was standing up in the trees when he saw his wife completely engulfed by the dragon's poison breath. He rushed down to help the people fighting the dragon. Um, and just as suddenly as the attack went on, it stopped. The dragon turning and leaving just as it seemed like it would kill them all, retreating into the forest, as well as the cultists doing much the same right afterwards. And as he concludes his story, Aligarthus kind of glances at both of you and he says, "You mentioned your wife, Kaelessa, I believe was her name, based on what I was told. Why did you not mention her to the adventurers here?" With that, Gollin kind of shifts a little bit uncomfortably in his chair, lowers his head. He says, "I tried to ignore the memory of watching her die. I didn't want to relive it at the time. It subconsciously slipped my mind, I suppose."
Stone Skull's gonna reach up and unhook his cape or cloak that he's wearing. And he's gonna stand up, and as he does, he's gonna look at Gallon and just say, "I understand what you're going through," and kind of turn around, and all the way across the back of Stone Skull are these giant claw marks where he was attacked by a dragon. And kind of reveal this to the guy and say, "When my tribe and home was destroyed, I was left with this and without my family." And he kind of stops for a second and he says, "I have nothing but what I carry now. I have joined my friends here to try to bring justice to my people of the North, and I remember what that's like. Your wife needs her memory to be meaningful to the people. We need every bit of information we can get, because right now the path that we're going is entirely dark and we don't know where to turn next."
Make a general charisma check, Stone Skull.
Ew.
As you're putting on this display of your old wounds and speaking of your past and talking of your family, as well as your need to eventually seek out vengeance against the one that slayed your family, you start to see a bit of a change. The awkward movements, the forced smile of Gallon begins to break down as he looks up at you, and you see his eyes lowering down, and he glances up and sees Prince Aligarthus just staring at him with this, regal majesty that only comes from those of, highborn stations. As Gallon looks up at Prince Aligarthus and then back at Stone Skull, he lowers his eyes once again. He says, You would know what it's like, but to see my wife killed before me, to rush down with nothing but hatred and vengeance in my heart, and to find myself face to face with that thing, I had no hope. I had nothing left. Not with Kaelessa gone, not with the village being destroyed around me, and to have that dragon and its rider staring me down. He stops for a moment, kind of gathering himself. You see his facade just completely breaking down. He says, I had no choice. What I did, I wanted to save my people. I could not save my wife. I wanted to save them at the very least. I begged for my life before the dragon and its rider, this Nero Vane, as he called himself. I offered
He's
anything
been lying.
in return to spare them, and they agreed. They agreed to spare my people.
Stone Skull's just going to grab his cloak and put it back over his shoulders and just sit down, like completely silent.
As you do so, you see Prince Eligarthus studying Galen before him, and he begins to speak once again in this calm, cool voice. He says, and Galen, in payment for sparing the people here of Altand, what did you have to pay in return? You see Galen almost as if a physical pressure has been put onto his back, as if a rock was placed there, and he sinks down
God for the
a few inches. Nerovine commanded that I give him information about the other villages here in the Misty Forest as payment. I've been doing so for a few nights now. He promises he won't attack this village again as long as I keep doing so. You see his eyes kind of rising up towards Eligarthus and then lowering again. He says, I'm so sorry, Your Highness. I did it only to save my people, those that I have been charged to lead and protect. As he concludes, you see Eligarthus kind of glancing between you both and then looking forward. It says, for the price that you have paid for protecting your people, you have caused the slaughter of so many more. Your way of doing things, while it may have seemed right at the time, you cannot save a few to sacrifice many. You cannot save one to sacrifice many. You cannot sacrifice many to save many. No sacrifices should have to be made. With that, Eligarthus sighs, looking back, and he turns towards you both. Looking back and forth, he says, I think we know why the other village was attacked so pinpointedly now.
Well, we need to do what we can as quickly as we can before any more of the villages are taken advantage of. If we're able to get the dragon to come out looking for more information, we can use that to our advantage and set up our own ambush.
Thaddy nods, says, very well. He turns back around. Galen, you will remain seated, and you will remain here for the time being. Me and my men will have questions for you, and we will have them answered truthfully and honestly. With that, he turns back around again as you see Galen once again lowering his head. He begins to cry softly into his hands with the presence of his prince before him, promising repercussions for his actions, essentially. Prince Eligarthus turns back towards you and says, return back to your quarters for the time being, please. Me and my men will see if we can glean some more information from Galen, and I will return it to you shortly. And he kind of glances over his shoulder, seeing Galen weeping into his hands. I don't see much coercing being necessary for this, but if there is, you do not need to witness it.
How many more villages do we think are currently at risk?
With that, Eligarthus shakes his head and says, there are countless villages within within the Misty Forest. Any number of them could be attacked. I think a more prominent or more successful strategy now would be to see if we can glean some insights as to where this dragon and the cult are stationed. It can't be too far into the forest or closer to the edge. There's no way they could orchestrate these attacks with long marches and such, so I'll see if I can glean some idea of where the cult may be hiding. And I think that information will be what you will be given. And then if we can glean anything on where the next attack will be, that will be the information I take care of.
That sounds like a good start to us. Obviously, we can go to their lair if need be. It should be rather difficult to hide an army, discreetly within a forest. We found them before, often in large caves and networks of that sort. So perhaps if you know any, start there.
With that, he nods. There may be some. I know this forest quite well, but not as well as some of the locals, so let me do some questioning. You rest, and I'll see if I can give you some more information here shortly.
Stone Skull, are you ready to leave?
Stone Skull just nods.
And I'll kind of turn and, say, in Gallon's direction. Multiple occasions have we been exposed to the fearful presence of a large dragon, and the only thing that matters is that you stand. Then we'll leave.
You see that he sobs harder as you say that. As you make your way out, the guard that accompanied you, kind of nodding your direction, you start heading back. Already you see other guards making their way into the trees and heading in your direction and moving past you with purpose as they move towards Gallon's quarters. You see that they're already setting up a perimeter around it, a couple of them moving inside as you make your way back to the common room where you all have been staying. A few moments pass, about 15 minutes or so is how long this has taken. For those of you still in the common room, Dragonborn and Terra, you see your two friends returning to you with somber-ish looks, I'd imagine, on your faces, as you recount what had transpired in the presence of Prince Aligarthus and Gallon, basically saying that he had betrayed other villages here in the Misty Forest in recompense for his village being spared. The mystery that you have been aiming to be solved, or just try to solve, being revealed now as to why that had happened. But as you mull over those thoughts amongst yourselves, we're going to go ahead and take our 5-minute break.
Okay. All right.
Very good.
5-minute break. Don't go anywhere, guys. When we get back, we'll continue our playthrough. So 5 minutes, and we'll return. All right. So we are about ready to get started.
That fucking great skin. Get out of here. My hands
Yeah,
are
I know,
raining
because all the
stuff.
dead ones just dying off immediately.
And we're back.
Snapping it off of there.
Oh.
Now we're back
That's the
to
first time I
D&D
got grabbed.
featuring
What?
skincare. Wait, what?
Featuring Zorn's bleached silky skin.
All right. So, as you, the two of you, Ignalia and Stone Skull, that witnessed all of this happen, recount it, everyone being caught up to speed. Another half hour or so passes, and once again, you see the door to your common room opening. As you see Prince Alagarthus, along with a couple of his guards, moving into the room. The prince kind of nods to you all. A very somber look on his face still. As he sits down, he quickly reaches for his once abandoned cup of wine and downs it heartily, setting it back on the table softly, shaking his head. Then he looks towards you all and says, "Well, we were able to glean some information from him. He was very much willing to talk, and he kind of glances back behind where you're all sitting to one of his guards. He says, and I am under full impression he was telling the truth due to some magical aids my friend was able to provide there. It seems that Galen has been providing information by visiting with this dragon, which we now know the name is Truth, is this green dragon's name, as well as the rider, Nerovane. He has
What's
been
the
meeting
dragon's
with
name?
these two. Truth.
Truth. Okay.
The rider apparently seems to be an important figure within the cults. More than likely one of the worm speakers I've heard about. He has been meeting with them in a clearing a few miles away from the village, going there every night, but only hearing or meeting with them every once in a while. But it seems he's been ordered to venture out there every evening to see if they're requiring of any information. He gave us a bit of information, though he spouts off things about the villages. He doesn't know everything about them, only a few of them, so we're thankful for his ignorance, I suppose. But we have a few ideas of where the attack may land next, so I will be venturing out to a few of our villages and sending scouts ahead to report for them to change their defenses and be prepared for the worst. Galen spoke of his meetings, saying he was, of course, terrified of them and such. I believe the dragon, this Truth, seems to take pleasure in tormenting Galen based on his description. He was unable to give me much information based on what they may be doing or even where they are, but he did tell us where the meeting spot is, as well as that the dragon would fly off on a course due southeast from this meeting spot. And he noticed that this worm speaker's clothes and hair were often wet whenever they met. But unfortunately, those are really the only clues we have as of now. I've summoned two of my best trackers, as well as those in tune with the nature of this forest. And if you are willing still to continue on with this investigation, they will accompany you to the meeting site. The normal meeting hour or so should be within a few hours from now, plenty of time for you to arrive at the meeting site and set an ambush or to gather information if necessary. But my two scouts and rangers will accompany you and see if they are able to assist.
We appreciate your help. We'll get set off immediately. Every moment wasted is another moment closer to a village being destroyed.
I agree. We
With
should
that,
move
we
as
know.
quickly as possible.
With that, Prince Algarthus nods a bit of a smile, as much as he can manage, crossing his face. He says, I had hoped that you were still willing, and I appreciate it. If you can find where the cult is stationed and stop them there, then, or even just report where they are, at the very least, we can at least stop them before they attack, which would be the preferable outcome of this, of course. But as of right now, aside from these two men and simply to scout, their orders are to protect me and follow orders within reason. I cannot send them with you to investigate further than this meeting spot. I will be sending you alone, unfortunately, but I have heard word of your deeds. I sort of figured that that wouldn't be a problem for you.
My only concern is relaying information back to you. Should we need to advance, we want to make sure that you're kept aware of our presence. Should we, find where the cult is being located, we can continue moving forward and send word back to you.
With that, he nods, says it would be nice. I don't know of any ways currently. I do not have any magic to allow you to do so, and no spells and such, of course, to help with that. At the very least, if nothing else, I trust you to do what you think is best. If scouting the area and returning back here to Altan is what you see as the best course of action, or if assaulting wherever their camp is seems to be the best idea for you, I support either direction. I leave this solely in your hands.
I kind of look around at, all of us in our armor, battle-scarred weapons. And say to the prince, we're not much of scouts. We'll find the information, but if there's a fight to be had, we won't shy from it.
Once again, Algarthus smiles at you and says that's once again would be the favorable outcome of them being rid completely from the forest, and if you can manage that, well, that would solve our problems for the time being, at least.
And kind of stand and pick up my package, start slinging it on. Let us make haste then.
I'll gather up my things as well, and then grab Stone Skull's hand.
Lead me, Papa. Lead me.
When you get to that, it's like, you guys want to kill a dragon? Camera slowly pans to Ignalia, who just cracks a neck.
Oh, we gonna kill that dragon.
He's like, well, you could scout it out, and all of us over there,
Yeah,
sharpening
sure.
our blades. What was that?
Okay, sure. Whatever you say, buddy. Scout.
Scouting. Lol.
We had a guy who was good at scouting once.
He died.
He didn't make it.
He didn't make it.
Decided to never do that again.
Alright, so everybody preparing to make your way into the forest, go find this meeting point, and see from continuing from there?
Yep.
Alright. 1 second, I'm trying to carefully refill my vape. Since I don't have a nozzle on this bottle because factory defect.
Yay.
Funnel.
If I had one, I would be using it right now. Oh god, it's everywhere. It's in my raccoon wounds.
You shouldn't vape raccoons, Havoc.
Don't tell him what to do.
Listen,
You're right, I did do that.
Not his
You're not
supervisor.
You're not my real dad.
You're not my supervisor.
Havoc, son, I'm not.
I get that reference. Alright, so with you all gathering your things, Prince Elgarthus nods to you, saying that he's going to be setting off shortly to these other villages mentioned in Gallen's report to go warn them and make sure that they start taking preparations in case you are not quite able to find or slay the cult members that have been assaulting the Misty Forest. With that, he instructs you to meet his two scouts up on the north side of the village, and they will lead you to the meeting point. So you gather all your things, heading up. You do find these two men, two wood elves, wearing the regalia that you recognize from all of the honor guard that accompanied Prince Aligarthus. And they kind of nod back and forth to you, introducing themselves as Galiath and Tanatar. And they make sure you're all ready, and they start traipsing through the woods off of a beaten path. You notice there are no pathways that they are following, but just picking routes through the forest floor and such for you to follow, and you're able to do so, being the hardy adventurers you are, though not quite as fast as these nimble elves who have lived in this forest their entire lives are able to do so, but you manage well enough. About 30 minutes or so passes before you see them slowing to a stop ahead of you, and you see that they're on the edge of a clearing before you. As they start to look around, making sure you catch up, Galiath turns back towards you, says, me and my friend are able to communicate with the plants and animals of this forest, as well as others, of course, but if you would like to start looking around yourselves, we are going to see what our friends are able to tell us about this area.
Let us know what you see. I'm going to look to or let us know what you find. I'll look to the rest of the group and tell them I'll take flight, see what I can see from the sky.
Okay.
Yeet.
All right, so make a perception check, Max.
Perception. Yeah.
So as you soar up over this clearing, you see it's pretty large, probably 100 feet by 50 feet or so. You soar over it, not flying too high because it's pretty dark. It's hard for you to see very far in the darkness of night. But as you do so, you see that the clearing of this underbrush and grass and foliage and such, there's a large swathe of it up to the kind of northern side of it that is completely flattened down. And as you look at it, you can clearly see that this flattened down area definitely seems to be about the size of a dragon, a pretty large dragon.
Anything else to note?
No.
Yeah, just a quick scout. I'm gonna go, relay that info to the rest of the group on the ground. So should we wish to set a trap, it looks like he uses that frequently as the spot where they land. Do you have any suggestions?
We should probably set a trap. How much time do you think we have?
I said we had a couple hours, but I don't imagine we have no idea when they might show.
As you're talking amongst yourselves, you see Tanatar, the other honor guard member, moving towards you. As he does so, he kind of holds his hand up, and you see a small owl sitting on his finger that he raises up, and it flutters back into the forest. As he walks up to you, he says, I have spoken to a few of our woodland friends, and through some coercing, they were able to tell me a few things. They were very frightened, but you could understand if you were the size of that owl and came face to face with a humongous green dragon. But they were able to tell me that it seems that the dragon, as well as a rider of some sort, do visit this place sometimes at night to meet with another elf that fit the description of Galen. That small owl there said that he was able to watch the dragon circling for some time before the meeting took place high in the sky, but he was able to easily spot him as his form crossed in front of the moon each night. It seems that he has not seen this dragon tonight as of yet. I don't know whether it's an extended amount of time. The concept of time itself is unknown, really, for the most part, to most animals. It could be encircled for an hour or a few hours. I'm not too sure. We'll continue investigating around and such, but based on his testimony, the dragon may not be visiting tonight.
We can at least wait.
If we wait, it sounds like the dragon is checking the area when he's circling around, so we should be sure to hide well.
Agreed.
All right.
Yeah. I don't really know
Do
what
we
else to
attempt
do
to-
other than wait or go back to the village.
Well, do we attempt to wait for him to leave, get inside his lair, and then, set up for his return?
We don't know where his lair is. He flies away from here to the southeast, somewhere where there's moisture, maybe even underwater. But
Well, it was Gallon who came back covered in water, right?
No.
you send the rider.
Oh, the rider. Okay. Yeah, possibly. My thought is dense jungle, possibly a giant river. Maybe it's behind a waterfall. That'd be cool.
Right. Any number of things, but I don't think we'll get any more info until we. I think we have to just basically hang tight until the dragon shows up. If he's circling ahead, it means he's looking.
The only reason not to is in case they just go and torch another village, right?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we need to be here in hopes that they're looking for more info to go towards something.
All right, so just planning on hiding and waiting for the time being?
Yeah, I want to hide and wait near the landing spot.
Okay.
Do we have any
everybody roll
ability to? Oh, sorry.
What do you want us to do, Havoc?
stealth checks.
Okay.
Hold on. Before we do that,
Say, let me apologize in advance.
hold on. I will be using Merge with Stone.
All right. So pass without trace being cast on everyone. Now make your stealth checks.
Oh, God.
It's still gonna be rough.
Oh. Ooh.
At 20, and he still rolled higher.
20 still.
Okay.
Jeez.
All right. So as you all sit down to wait and such, the two other elves kind of meandering through the forest around you, you catch sight of them every once in a while. As you sit down to wait for about an hour or so. As you kind of slip up into the edge of this clearing up amongst the woods and such, the shadows and the earth around you kind of forming into a more conciliatory state around you. You all feel pretty hidden. Stone Skull and Brogar are gone. You can't find them. Pretty much everybody's gone. Tara's gone too. As you're watching the area, aside from the elves, every once in a while, a few woodland creatures and such, you even study the sky, and you end up seeing nothing. After about an hour or so, once again, Galeath moves forward through the woods, able to find Ignalia. Finally, after about an hour, he says, "I've been looking for you for some time. You were all quite well hidden. I've spoken to a few more of the local wildlife, and according to Thanatar, he was able to confirm that it seems the dragon does patrol this area, frightening off much of the wildlife before it lands. I did hear a few things from a a hawk that patrols a much larger area than just a small patch of land. It's said to the southeast where the dragon heads to, there is. He kind of thinks, says the feelings and words I got didn't make much sense, but to the southeast, a little ways away, about 30 miles or so, the way the hawk flies, the land was wrong, changed in some way. The mist seems to hang heavier there, and the forest itself seems to, he thinks, seem ominous. I apologize. It's difficult sometimes being able to relay it in words that we can all understand, but it fits, I suppose, for a lair of a dragon such as the one we find to be located there.
Oh boy.
Well, that's good
Well.
information for us to have. We'll use it as a guiding compass to seek out the lair itself.
Is it to the southeast where we are?
Yes.
So
With
we
that,
know where to go now.
yeah, you're pretty much getting a direction to head in. With that, Galiath nods, giving information. He says, we unfortunately must return back to our ward. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. We must return to watch over Prince Alagarthus before he departs from Altand. It will be quite difficult for us to find him if he departs beforehand. We've once again gathered as much information as we can. We're fairly certain at the very least, that wherever this dragon is hiding at least is to the southeast. The cult, I would imagine, would be there with him, but I cannot absolutely confirm or deny that.
Well, thank you for your skills and expertise. We are going to wait here this evening and see if the dragon shows, and if not, let the prince know we'll head towards that the thought location for the lair.
All right. So with that, the elves both meet up with the rest of you, kind of bidding you farewell and good luck, and they set off, disappearing into the night. As you all kind of return to hiding in your spots and such, are you all just staying awake watching for the entire night, or a little while and then resting somewhere, or what do you want to do?
We should rest in shifts, only 2 at a time,
Yeah.
in our hiding spots. It won't be
Oh, yeah.
comfortable.
So 2 resting at a time? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that would.
Okay.
We have too much to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do remember that they said if the dragon was approaching, the wildlife would be disturbed, so we can always use that.
Yeah, we shouldn't be surprised at a dragon showing up.
More, scouts of his that we have to be concerned about.
Yeah, let's rest it up and we'll wait until, what do you think, dawn? We haven't seen him, then we'll start making our way.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So as you all kind of work out how you're going to do your shifts and such, I imagine probably Tara using nudges via the earth to wake up the next 2 for the watch and such. You go through the evening, able to rest up as best you can here on the forest floor. Not the most comfortable rest you've been subject to, especially after spending the night in Altant and quaint beds and high in the trees and safety. It's a little bit more of a tense night for you, but you go through it and you end up not seeing a dragon or anything really showing up. The forest the wildlife around you seems to carry on as if nothing's happening all throughout the night, nothing ever alarming you of any presences that you need to be worried about. And with that, morning arrives.
Yeah, let's start making our way southeast. It was like 30 miles.
Around
forest.
there, so yeah. I mean, it's a huge forest, so that makes sense for. And 30 miles would be nothing for a dragon to fly to and from.
Right. Yeah, let's start making our way.
Yeah, that's a long hike.
It's going to take you at least a day, maybe more.
Yeah, I feel like we should just continue traveling. We can push through it.
Yeah, I was going to say, what is our pace per hour? Do you know?
With difficult terrain, we'll kind of modify it a little bit since you're powerful adventurers. You'll move normal, kind of ignoring the difficult terrain of the forest. So if you move at a normal pace, you'll move about 24 miles per day. 3 miles an hour or so.
Okay. Sounds good.
Difficult
Okay.
terrain doesn't bother me. I'm going to use this opportunity to summon Mr. Pebbles for the day.
Okay. Nothing else. Mr. Pebbles can kind of be clearing away before you, kind of making it easier.
Very discreet rock golem.
Yeah, just stomp, trees cracking all around you. All right, so as you start continuing your way, or making your way rather, to the southeast, doing your best, the mist of the forest kind of burns off for the most part during the day, so you're able to use the sun to try to keep your bearings for the most part. You do find yourself somewhat missing, maybe having a ranger in the party to help with directions, but you're able to manage it for the most part, making your way out.
I imagine
one person,
my ability to fly is going to be, nice to get up above the trees.
Yeah, that would help a bit. No, everybody go ahead and roll perception checks. Okay. As you're all moving through, over half the day has progressed. You've moved at a decent pace, with Max occasionally flying up above the trees to make sure you're going on and correcting your course as you go on. Continuing to the southeast, you find yourself making steady pace through the forest. As about half the day or so progresses, Max, as you're flying above the trees, at one point you're able to see off in the distance a place where, still far ahead of you, but it seems the mist of the forest that's kind of burned away around you has not burned away in a large area up ahead of you. You start kind of pointing the group in that direction, figuring that's the best place for you to start. As you're all making your way through, finishing up your pack lunches and everything, and then continuing on, you all hear what sounds like cracking of a tree, and you immediately look over at Mr. Pebbles, and he hasn't broken a tree or anything. You start looking around, kind of hearing another crack of a tree in the distance, not super close to you, but not terribly far either. As you're listening and hearing the sounds of a tree breaking in the distance, fading away, you start to hear a voice. It sounds very feminine, ringing through the forest, saying, is anybody out there? Please, help me.
Paladin, go.
Yeah.
Sounds like she needs our help.
What's that? I think we don't have a choice.
We're going to be breaking trees that needs our help.
Right.
If it's just the dragon using a woman's voice, I swear to God.
It's totally the dragon using a woman's voice, or it is a woman dragon.
Rogar.
Either way, we'll find the dragon.
Go take point. Get out in front of us. See if you can scout out. We'll be behind you. We're just going to move really slow.
Okay.
All right.
Rogar, go ahead and make a perception check. Okay. As Rogar takes point, the rest of you kind of following behind him, you see him disappearing through the trees and then reappearing here and there, and you start following. Rogar, as you start moving forward, you don't hear any more cracking of trees and such, but you do hear this voice crying out, and you start to follow it with your ears, redirecting yourself occasionally, only having to move for a few minutes. Once again, you hear this voice crying out, saying, blast this thing. Is anybody there? Please, I'm stuck. You keep continuing on. As you move forward, you come to not quite a clearing, but a bit of an opening, the sun kind of shining through the trees before you. And Rogar, as you scan ahead, you see initially looking forward, you see a large tree. Seems to have fallen over and landed on the forest floor. And then you see a small hand kind of reaching up and clasping and then pushing against the tree. And you see a woman's face, this elven woman, another wood elf, sitting underneath this tree, trying to push it off of her. You just see the top of her head. Her eyes haven't caught sight of you, and she once again kind of sighs and struggles against the tree, just groaning. Says, blast this thing. Is anybody out there? Please, if there's anybody, please. Help me.
No, this totally isn't a trap.
Totally not a trap.
Ignalia believes that. I'm gonna go help her.
Yeah. I'm right
Quickly,
with you.
somebody is in need.
Tara,
Are you hurt?
Let's get this tree off of you.
Tara's going to send Mr. Pebbles after him, but she's going to stay back.
Okay. So it's Ignalia, Maximilian, and Mr. Pebbles moving up to help.
Yeah.
Okay. As you get closer, you can clearly see this elven woman is stuck underneath this tree. It's fallen down and pinned like her lower body. You see her pushing against it, and it doesn't even move against her, diminished strength, her being on her back, trapped under the tree. She pushes up it and looks at you and says, "Oh, there were people here. Thank the gods. If it's not too much trouble, I seem to have fallen, and a tree has followed me down. If you don't mind, could you help me lift this off?"
Yeah, of course, ma'am. Tara, can you have Mr. Pebbles help lift this tree? And I'll start, tending to her.
I'm pretty strong.
Asking, do you have, do you still have sensation? Do you feel hurt?
That was for me.
Yeah, go ahead and everybody rolls, the three of you.
Sorry, that's Mr. Pebbles.
As you're asking that, she shakes her head and is like, "No, my knee, I think maybe got scraped up, but I'm really just pinned here." As you're all moving through, it takes all your effort. You even see Mr. Pebbles slowly not being able to really lift this tree very quickly. It's a huge tree. But you know that as it's moving and starts to lift off you, it shifts back and forth. And you know that even just doing this, you're somewhat in danger yourselves. This could easily just roll back towards you. But knowing that still, you continue lifting against it, Mr. Pebbles helping on. But then, even as you were close to freeing the woman, the tree begins to rise on its own. And as you see it lifting up out of your grasp,
Damn it.
putting all your strength into it, you see it rising up. You see two other trees standing nearby shift back along the ground.
Oh no.
As the elf stands up and kind of dusts herself off and smiles towards you all, showing no signs of injury. As she smiles and she looks forward and sees the rest of you kind of hanging back behind, she says, "Heroes, at last. How many might fall back in fear at the sight of a stranger in the woods, or think first of their own safety before helping another?"
Ma'am, I really need you to tell me this isn't a trap, otherwise they're never going to let me hear the end of it.
With that, she lets out a bit of a playful giggle. She says, "It's kind of a trap in a way, I suppose, but not one that you should fear."
She stops drawing her blade.
I said, "I wanted to test you, I suppose. I imagine you're..." And you see her gaze kind of turning to the southeast. "I imagine you're heading to seek out the dragon. And I wanted to help you, but not if you were ones who did not show the character worthy of such help. But in selflessly moving forward and attempting to save me from my predicament, I think you have proven yourselves. I grant you my blessing. May your hearts prove true where others fear to tread. The woman then picks flowers from her hair that you swear were not there a moment ago, then twists her fingers to weave them into garlands as if by magic. She then moves forward and lays a garland around each of your necks. Moving from each of you in turn, she kind of motions for the rest of you to join, and not seeing any form of threat, you join the group, and all of you, minus Mr. Pebbles, get a garland put around your neck, woven of these flowers, almost by magic once again, by her deft hands. As she does so, she looks between all of you, kind of nodding to herself, satisfied. She says, "Good luck. Uh, I very much hope you don't die." And with that, she suddenly transforms into an owl and then flitters flying up above your heads and then takes off through the trees, moving away from you. You then see these awakened trees, these servants of hers, being stomping through the forest after her, just dum 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 into the distance, crashing through the canopy and such. And then they all disappear.
Man, we didn't even get her name.
I kind of just pan to the rest of the party. What the hell was that?
don't know.
What the hell are these?
What did she put around my neck?
A trap.
Totally a trap.
How about this?
You're unable to tell exactly what this is, but you can tell that there are somewhat powerful traces of magic flowing through each of these garlands. Magic that seems to form in a semblance of protection. And you see traces of unseeing mixed into them, but as you look around, invisibility is a spell that can be cast, but you could clearly see one another. Doesn't seem to have that effect exactly. There is still, even with an identify spell, there's still a bit of a mystery to you, but they don't seem evil or untoward, but rather a blessing, a protection for you.
I'm gonna look at Max and say, okay, what do they do?
I mean, there's stories of, fae and spirits guarding all manner of woods. It seems as if we've run across one, and she's decided to give us her blessing. Hopefully she wants this dragon gone from her wood as much as the rest of the elves here.
Well, I'm glad to have her justification behind us, I guess.
We need all the allies we can get.
I wouldn't have, minded the large tree men.
Yeah. Or the shapeshifter with conjuring abilities probably help.
Might be nice, but ring of flowers, always good.
Hey, you know what?
Look pretty.
That's a ring of flowers I didn't have a little bit ago.
Exactly. Shall we continue?
Quickly.
I thought we were stopping to smell the flowers.
No, we don't have to now.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So as you continue on, everybody give me another round of perception checks.
Oh, I see it.
So as you continue on through the woods, these garlands still very, smelling fresh of, fresh flowers picked, even hours after they've been placed around your necks. You continue on through the woods, moving forward, and as you do so, you see the ebbing light of twilight beginning to set over the forest. Darkness will be consuming over your heads and over the forest itself shortly, within the next 30 minutes or so. The mists of the forest begin to creep in, but you see that they're creeping in with a bit more intensity than before. You find yourselves kind of on a precipice based on your observations here in the forest. It feels like venturing forward, we'll be moving further into the somewhat ominous space that has been spoken of by the woodland creatures and the elves.
All right.
And what time is it?
It's almost dark.
Let's move. Let's move quickly. Hopefully, we can capitalize on an element of surprise if we come across anyone here. If we see anyone trying to make a run for it, or warn others, they have to be stopped.
I wish I had my bear.
All right, so continuing on.
Yeah. Rogar, step back out in front of us. Give us a good 90 feet or so. Just stay quiet and see if you can pick anybody out.
Okay.
All right. Rogar and one person from the other group, give me perception checks as you continue on.
I mean, I'm pretty good at these.
Okay. As you continue on forward, past this precipice, that you seem to have been crossing a border almost within this forest, though nothing notable can be said to what be, causing you to think this is a border. But as you move forward, another hour or so passes as you start to move through darkness now instead of the light or even twilight of the sun above. As night has now fallen over the Misty Forest. You see heavy mist lingers all around you, and you start to see odd things around you, odd changes within the forest itself. You start to see thickets sprouting up that don't resemble things you've seen before. The forest has been thick with foliage and such, but now you see brambles are sprouting here and there in large clumps, sometimes 10 to 20 feet tall, making almost walls of thorns around you that you have to walk around and traverse. As you continue further, even more so, you see that they become more and more frequent, and you find yourself almost moving through a maze of them as you continue on through the trees and foliage, as well as this thick, at this point, more a fog than a mist. As you're moving through, Rogar, you're able to notice the wildlife here is somewhat silent, but as you scan the canopy and the ground around you, you see a manner of birds and rodents and such that seem to stop every once in a while in your presence, but they scan the area, and you even see one small mouse kind of running right in front of you within a few feet that you're afraid you might step on it, almost as if it didn't see you at all as it moved through the area, bounding past you. The birds and such flutter around your heads, but nothing seems to alert them of your presence, which is a tad different from previous encounters with this wildlife. Everything just naturally shied away from you for the most part. As you keep going, are you still going after another hour or so?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay. As you keep going, you see once again these brambles more and more sporadic around you. The trees around you start to take on a bit of a gnarled presence instead of the great grasping roots spreading out into the ground. Now they poke out of the ground occasionally. Some of the trees appear dead almost, as if their life has been sucked from them, and now gnarled, hungry branches stretch out in all directions, as if trying to gather that life back within them. You continue on and you start to see even more changes to the forest around you. You start to see wisps of white thread floating through the air, and at first you don't recognize it touching it, and you feel moistness on these threads, as well as a sticky attribute. And as you continue on, you see more and more of these threads, and they start to congeal into large, intricate patterns, crisscrossing and weaving back and forth between each other. And you recognize these as very large, very intricate, and very numerous spider webs are now beginning to start to surround you as you progress further into this forest.
Well, May kind of mention quietly back to Tara about the spider webs in case you can't tell. So, can you feel anything?
You see Tara turn around, picking out some web from her hair.
I see you found it too.
Yeah, I don't like this. I'm gonna get closer to Mr. Pebbles so that he's walking through them.
Okay. You start seeing Mr. Pebbles. Are you all continuing?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. As you continue forward, you notice that even though the forest around you has grown mostly silent, every once in a while hearing brush moving and seeing a small rodent or small animal or a bird flying through the trees around you, it grows even more so silent. The webbing and such around you almost takes over the forms of what would be leaves and branches from the normal trees that you've seen up to this point. Now the trees almost all seem dead and barren, and their foliage replaced by intricate webs that crisscross all through them and up and down from the canopy to the ground below. You have to start kind of sidestepping around it. It's almost to the point now where you can't move without stepping into webs here and there. You find yourself moving into a bit of a clearing, the trees parting a bit, but these webs, as you glance around you in the darkness, completely surrounding you still and engulfing the forest.
Oh. You don't say. Nothing bad here. Mm-mm.
It's a lot of webs.
Everybody give me perception checks. That's the Terra I know.
Yeah, there's the Zard we know.
There she is.
As you're all moving through, once again through these webs and such, you start to see somewhat haunting sights before you. You see, instead of just the webs before you, you start to see unfortunate victims of these large and intricate webs. You start to see birds and some small rodents and other animals trapped within them. Some of them almost looking as if they've been desecrated to a point where nothing remains inside of them. You see that they may have been long dead or a matter of hours. It's hard to tell. You continue forward, moving around, stepping around the webs, and you can't help but occasionally strike some and tear them away from your body and from your armor and such. And then you all start to hear a light chittering sound. You initially hear it kind of in front of you, and you start glancing in front of you and then up at the trees. And then you hear this chittering sound beginning to echo from your left and then from your right. Ignalia, Rogar, everybody but Terra, you start to see what appear to be creatures moving through the webs easily as if they are walking on solid ground, skimming down the trees onto the canopy floor and moving towards you. I need everybody to roll for initiative.
Yeah.
No. Wait, I have advantage on initiative rolls.
Re-roll it then.
Way better.
Combat time.
All right. Give
Oh
me
wait,
1 second.
ignore that. It rolled it with advantage. I rolled a 1 and a 2. Ouch.
That sucks.
Oh, yeah, so yeah, you are a
So-
5.
Yep. So you can click on your total and then just change it. Yeah.
No, I can't.
Yep.
No, nice.
Yeah, I already did it, but yeah.
Cool.
Going
That's
forward,
right,
you
buddy.
can do
Come
that.
on down here with me.
Yeah.
All right, so as you see these forms begin moving forward, you see them start to move from the trees, scuttling down and looking towards you. As I get everything open here.
I don't see anything.
You start to recognize some of these, though it's been a long time since you've seen forms such as these. You see legs sprouting out, but you see others not moving in an errated manner, but rather in an almost bipedal one, having 2 arms and 2 legs, but every other feature about them seems to
No.
resemble a spider.
We've seen these before, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Better caps.
So as this happens, you see one off to your right, moving down the edge of this tree, and as it gets to the side of it, you see its abdomen flexing forward, and as it does so, this almost liquid version of the webbing flies straight towards Rogar. As a 17 hit.
Meets it beats, right?
Meets it beats. Take these off of Whisper. There we go. All right. So as this webbing flies over, you see it just encompassing your lower half, Rogar, and you feel the stickiness of it as you start to try to move, and you find yourself restrained by it as this web attack hits you. You are now restrained. And it is your turn. You can try to break free with a strength check, or you can try attacking the web, burning it away, something. It's whatever you want to do.
Try to attack it.
All right, make an attack roll. Okay, roll for damage. All right. So as you see this webbing coming around your legs and you're unable to move, you quickly reach and stab your rapier down kind of next to your legs, and then quickly just raise the point up so it starts cutting through the strands of it. And you see the edge of the gentleman is able to do so clearly, piercing through this web and freeing you. All right. You are no longer restrained. What else do you want to do?
Right. I can't see any of them,
I see nothing.
so I will.
Oops. Y'all's tokens aren't fixed. 1 second.
I mean, I
Should be
can
able to
see
the one
things.
the webbing. Yeah.
I can see things, yeah. But
That one on the ground.
Yeah, it's like halfway up the tree. Well, within striking distance, though.
All right. I'm gonna poke at it.
You did have to use your action to break free.
Okay, so I'm not gonna poke at it. Never mind. I can attack. Sit right here.
All right. So breaking free, you're able to do so within your bounds, but it takes you a few seconds to do so. And you find yourself free, but unable to just see it, but not attack it quite yet. You start to see more forms moving out of the trees.
yes, please. I need something
So
to attack.
This one. This one. Okay. All right, so this guy is going to move forward with his movement. You see it climbing out of this tree and then moving forward. 20, getting there. And another web shoots at Rogar. That is a 19 hit.
Yeah.
More webbing on your legs.
Stop it.
You see this one climbing down out of the trees as well and moving forward. Do. Make sure I've got all this right. Come on. Load. Okay. All right. So this one moves forward 5, 10, 15, 20, getting right up next to the webbed Rogar and attacks you with advantage. There's a 20 hit.
Yep.
All right. So it hits you. You see it as it hits you, it slaps its hand, and you see its hand is covered in more webbing. And as it does so, it slaps you across the face, dealing 5 bludgeoning damage, which hurts. But as it takes its hand away, you see that it has left this webbing across your mouth, and it starts to grow and solidify over your mouth. You cannot breathe. And it makes one more attack attempting to bite you. But a 16 will miss. All right, this guy's going to skitter on down. 15, 20, 30. Is going to fire off a webbing at Ignalia, the next one in line. 23 to hit.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm going to shield that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so with a +5, that makes you like 26. So
Wang.
Tarask armor appears, and suddenly you don't get hit by anything. All right, so the webbing bounces off your arcane sigils. You saw that it was clearly going to hit you, but you're able to get away from it.
I don't like spiders.
Don't like them. What else? Those two. Okay. All right, so this guy going to move forward. 5, 10, 15, 20. And this one, the first one it sees is Max, shoots a web at him. 12. Doesn't hit. This guy is going to skitter on down and attempt to attack Rogar, who is still trapped. It is going to make one claw attack, one bite attack. Bite first with advantage, 23.
Yeah.
All right, so you take 5 piercing, and then venom starts coursing through your veins, so you take another 5 poison damage. And then it's claws, 22 to hit. And you take another 8 slashing as it rends across your skin.
Oof.
All right, so this one is going to skitter down next to Maximilian and attempt the same series of attacks, biting first. Gonna miss, and then clawing, gonna miss as well, just clanking off your armor, unable to gain purchase on you as it tries.
I'm feeling dangerous.
10, 15, 20, 25, 30. It has sight on Max. It's going to launch a web at him. A 7 is gonna just not even get close. Step
Float like
over.
a butterfly.
All right, Tara.
I am going to, from a bonus action, go ahead and beef up Stone Skull here with an Aegis.
Okay.
And for my action, I am going to twin spell haste on Ignalia and Stone Skull.
Just silly stuff about to happen.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. About to get funky.
That will end my turn for now.
All right, so Tara immediately throwing out buffing magic, seeing all of these arachnid creatures surrounding you and attacking in conjunction with one another. Able to cast out spells, Stone Skull being surrounded by stonework, and then the stonework greatly picks up speed all around him as haste is cast on him and Ignalia. Another spider joins the fray, moving forward, skittering over the trees, kind of stops in the top of this tree, and launches another web towards Maximilian. 23 to hit.
No.
-7.
All right,
that
so
one missed.
a like 16. All right, so the web heading straight towards you, but you see Gleam Edge slicing through it through the air as it cuts it away, and you're able to sidestep around the remnants of it. Stone Skull.
Oh, I don't think so.
Get the little one first.
Yeah, gonna bonus action, rage, and I'm gonna just start hacking away at things. So 2 to the north, reckless, please, on the first
Okay,
attack.
Reckless on the first. 23 will hit.
And then normal on the second. Oh,
20 will hit.
wow. And then
Alright.
I get
Much
a
touch. Wow.
yeah. Let's roll damage first. So that's the first one. So that's 16.
Okay.
All of that counts. So
Ooh.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 54 on the second.
Okay.
And then immediately turning and using my hasted attack to the one to the east. Another 25.
Another crit. Let's see it.
That will also hit.
And 15.
Okay.
And I only get one attack on haste, right?
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Okay. And rah, that'll end my turn.
All right. Stone Skull rather. Raging as he moves forward, seeing Maximilian continue to be attacked, sets him off, charges forward, just cleaving through this Ettercap before him, chopping it into pieces, able to hit the spider that's kind of above his head, but the long reach of Gleam Edge not caring, slicing through its abdomen, leaving a long gash, but it is still standing. Another spider moves forward. This one's skittering over to this tree and launches at Stone Skull this time. A 7 is going to miss.
It is.
And finally, as we start getting towards the low-ass initiative, this guy is going to move forward.
I felt like it was personal.
and attack Stone Skull with its biting claws. Natural 1, it will miss. Claws 15, I think, will also miss.
Yep.
All right, so trying to dig through, just cannot grab or sink its teeth into Stone Skull at all. You see it frightfully looking up at him as he just turns his glare, looking down at this creature. Max.
So start things off, use my bonus action to give Stone Skull a point of inspiration.
Okay.
And then I am going to move. I can activate an ability in a space, right? I just can't, like, if I want to be in a spot that Mr. Pebbles currently occupies to do something. You know what?
You just can't end your turn there.
How about this? We'll just move 15 feet in elevation above Mr. Pebbles. And I am going to scream at Rogar to close his eyes. And I am going to exhale, hitting with a goal to hit Rogar, the two Ettercaps in front of him, and the spider behind him. I'm going to burn the webbing off of him. All of it. The stuff over his mouth, his body, the whole 9 yards.
Okay. So Rogar and the two other things will make dex saves. Rogar
he'll be at disadvantage. Yeah. He can't move real good. But he has resistance to it, so.
Yeah.
So, Havoc, I wanted
Look at
to.
all of these things that are piling around me.
You're taking
This is
it all.
okay. This is fine.
I wanted to clarify something because I didn't know how you wanted to go for it with a blinding breath weapon. Do you want it where they make one save, pass fail for both, or do you want them to do 2 saves?
No, it'll be a dex save and then a con save, if I
Con save.
remember correctly.
Yeah, it was. I didn't know because the text that I have written says they're also blinded if they fail.
I
So I
got
didn't know
you.
if-
Yeah. Now we'll do 2 saves, which they're both going to fail, so they're both going to be blinded. Rogar will also have to make one, unfortunately.
Even if I warn him, that's what I was
Even
telling him
if
to
you
close
warned
his
him,
eyes. Oh, okay.
he would have to be ready for it. All right, Rogar. The web burning off of you as this attack hits, but unfortunately, the bright flame does blind you for a turn.
It's bright enough that like even
You
with your
know,
eyes
I
closed.
mean, honestly, yeah, he could probably use this reaction. If you want to burn your reaction on closing your eyes, you can do so. Rogar.
He said, "Yeah,
Alright.
I heard him."
Yeah. No.
I heard
Yeah.
him say yes.
All right, so you will burn your reaction with a friendly warning you beforehand. You know what's coming. Having the forewarning, you're able to close your eyes and not. You're still burned for 19, which gets your resistance, so it'll only be 9 points of damage. But the webbing is burned off of you, and you are not blinded. But the 2 things in front of you just got singed, and they are holding their little
Clawing at
clawed
their
hands up
faces.
at their eyes. They're like, ah, what the fuck? All right, anything else?
No, that's on my turn.
All righty. Ignalia.
All right, we will dive right into the thick of it. So
Yeah,
I'm
you said
gonna
thick.
skirt my way down here. And I will attack this guy in between me and Rogar with a flame blade as my first action.
Like he started with my first action.
He's blinded, so I have advantage.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, 28.
28 will hit.
Okay. So he takes the 13
Havoc, will my
slashing.
evasion kick in?
7
Even
fire.
if I was
Well, your
restricted
what?
to evasion.
No, because you didn't make the dex save. Well, wait, does evasion make you take half damage?
Yes.
Yes, you'll still take half damage. So you'll take half damage and then resistance to that, or resistance then half of that, so 4 damage.
Evasion
So he
uses
takes-
reaction, doesn't it?
Ooh,
Ooh.
I think it does,
does.
actually.
Mm-hmm.
So you either take 4 damage and are blinded, or you take 9 damage and you're not.
Mm-hmm.
There's one of these options that seems way better than the other one.
Yeah, I'll take the 9.
Yeah.
Evasion doesn't use that, actually.
Really?
Beginning at 7th level, you can nimbly dodge out of the way of certain area effects, such as a red dragon's fiery breath, or in this case, fiery breath from your friend. When you are subjected to an effect that allows you to make a dex saving throw to take half damage, you instead take no damage if you succeed on the
Yep.
saving throw, and only half damage if you fail. No reaction. So yeah, 4
Nice.
damage.
So
Not blinded.
You just do. Nice.
All right, so he took 13 or
The first
20.
one took a total of 20. The one to the left took 13.
okay, so 20 to him, 13 to the other guy. Got it.
Yep.
Okay, both still standing.
I will. Yep, I'll attack the one between us again with my second standard action. For 22.
Also hits.
And
You
all those
cleave
one
through
rolls.
him.
No, he's dead. Well then. And then, yeah, I will
So many
turn
things.
towards the 2 big spiders and quicken spell Burning Hands.
All right. It's got to make a dex save, right?
Yep.
All right.
Burning Hands is the one where you have to put your fingers in a triangle, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how I choose to believe it.
Yep.
Not the
Alright,
other cat,
thanks.
the 2 big spiders.
Oh, to your south. Okay. Dex saves.
So both fail.
Okay. For 22.
Yep, 22 fire reach. And that's it for me.
Wait, that reaches the other one? It's only a
Uh,
15-foot cone.
No, if he does, then I'll scoot myself up a bit.
Yeah, you'd have to move there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I'll scoot up a little bit then.
Okay. You'd be able to do that, no problem. So, yeah, you had enough movement to do it. So, all right. So, able to slay one of these ettercaps, cleaving your blade through it, burning the other one. Then you abruptly about face, putting both your hands up, your sword kind of hanging off to a side as you make this triangle with your hands. This gout of flame erupting from them and encompassing both these spiders, unable to dive out of the way. You see the spiders and a lot of the web around them burning away as you hit that, but they are both still standing. Now we can start doing this game. All right. So that one doesn't have it. It's going to rush down towards Rogar and is going to attempt to bite him.
Of course it is.
12 to hit's going to miss. No. Rogar, your turn.
Alright, cool. The one that just ran up to me, I'm going to stab it.
Stab it real good. Get those bud guts all over you. 14 hits. Yeah. You stab it right through its head as it lunges trying to bite you.
No.
Anything else?
There. That's it.
All right. So Rogar, being assaulted by one of these giant spiders, quickly sidesteps around it and stabs his rapier right through its head, and then moves up next to this ettercap that's still clawing at its eyes, trying to be able to see, but unable to do so quite yet. This one is going to move towards Ignalia, attempting to bite her. Natural 20.
I do believe that'll hit.
All right, so that is going to do 8 plus 6, which will be 14 plus... we'll just do straight roll on the second one, yeah. So 8, 9, 10, 15. All right, so 15 plus the 14 will be 29 points of damage from that attack.
Very good.
All right, so it digs its fangs into your neck, right through the chinks of your armor. It hurts. A burning sensation going down your neck does not feel good. This one's still alive, but blind is just going to wildly flash out towards it, attacking at Rogar. Going to make an attack with disadvantage. Both its attacks with disadvantage. A bite coming first. 7's going to miss. And an 11 is also going to miss as it blindly just flails around. This guy's got nothing, so he's just going to try to jump on Ignalia as well. 12 is going to chink off your armor, though. Still can't do anything. Going to move up and attempt to start surrounding Stone Skull, trying to bite him. 12 is going to miss, though.
Would have advantage.
Oh, yeah, because of reckless attack.
Reckless.
So 23, then.
I can also use warding on myself, so I will do that.
You can use inspiration on AC.
I'll do that first. So
Okay,
minus 6.
Bring it down to 17.
Nope.
All right. Able to sense it coming, bringing up Gleam Edge and blocking against it. As its attack misses. This guy is dead.
Mine's just a sweet
dead.
pulling the sword behind his back and blocking it. Like,
All right. This one's going to move forward. 5, 10, 15, 20. It's got 2 targets real close. Rogar is the center of its bite. An 8 is going to miss, though. Tara.
Tara is going to send Mr. Pebbles forward first and have him make 2 attacks.
Against...
This one.
I didn't see which one you clicked on. Big guy or little guy?
Big guy.
Okay. First and second will both hit. 14 damage on the first. And 9 damage on the second. All right. Still alive.
And I will step forward and take a swing as well.
22 will hit.
10 more. Ugh, damage is low.
As you see Mr. Pebbles pounding into this bug, it just squashes in the ground and starts to stand back up, and then you quickly bring your maul around, and as you hit it, you crush its head underneath the weight of your maul.
And that will end my turn.
Uh-huh. Squishy.
Right. And none of them going to get their web back, I guess. Attack Stone Skull.
Okay.
22 to hit.
Inspiration on this one. 20 still matches.
All right, matches and hits. Con save.
Con save. Beats it.
It beats it. All right, so you only take 1 point of poison damage.
Which one hit him? Big guy?
Big dude.
Yep.
Big dude right there.
I will use my reaction.
So how much? Wait, hold on. What's the total amount here?
8 plus you save, so
poison.
1. Yeah.
Okay. So. Okay. So 4 off of that.
16 will hit.
So 5.
For
And
15.
Squish it.
Get off my blender.
All right. Stone Skull still gets bit, but Terra avenges the bites by squishing this guy. Stone Skull, your turn.
Okay. Also, we've been running Reckless wrong. If you read it, it says it has to be activated at the start, but it applies to all strength attack rolls.
Reckless
Very
attack.
good.
Doing so gives
your
you
attacks have to be
advantage on
reckless.
all strength. Yep. But you have to activate it at the start. You can't activate it after your first attack.
I mean, why would you want to, though?
Right, exactly. If you're going to go reckless, you go reckless for the whole thing.
Okay. Yeah, as long as you do it on your first one.
Yeah,
then,
you have
all
to
attacks
call
will be
it as
reckless.
you're making your first attack, otherwise you can't use it. But yeah, all of them would apply, and the same rules apply for everybody else. They can still attack me at advantage. So
Yeah.
I was like,
All right.
wait, I thought that was wrong, but I don't know. We've been playing it like that this whole time, and I didn't even think about it.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to just hack away at the guy to the south again, doing reckless here. So 19
Will hit.
and 29. Let's
Also
damage
hit.
first. 17, 30. So
Okay.
47, still alive. Okay.
Nope.
Coming here and going to use my third attack. 16 on the spider.
Will hit.
Okay. And 19 damage.
All right.
And that's my turn.
Okay. Cleaving through the Ettercap to his south, moves forward, swinging at the legs of the spider that's kind of high in the tree, but once again able to slay into it, opening up another large gash, but it is still standing.
Do it.
All right, scurries down to attack Stone Skull. 16 will
Misses.
miss. This guy's dead. Max.
And my
So
reaction's
we got
back.
these three
so-
guys. The other cap's still alive. Oh, wait. First. Okay.
They're not doing so well over there, are they? Well, they're doing okay, I guess. Not terrible.
While this is going on, Ignalia surrounded by 4 spiders and just says, "I've never been this unhappy."
Someone make it stop, please.
Go away.
I'm gonna cast Bless at 3rd level, so I can bless everyone.
Oh.
All right.
excluding Mr. Pebbles, because
Well,
he's cool.
No flower necklace, no bless.
he's just
fuck
being
Mr.
shafted.
Pebbles.
He doesn't have feelings, so it's cool.
And Stone Skull, you'll shut your memory. Yeah, bless.
Yep,
heard
I got
for
it.
him.
All right.
Hashtag blessed.
And then I am going to give a point of inspiration to Ignalia. No, my turn.
All right. Oh shit! I used the wrong icon. Oops. This is the one you're supposed to have. Oh god damn it! All right. So Ignalia getting inspiration. All of you feeling this coating of radiant energy surrounding you as you are blessed by what the fuck. By
Max.
Maximilian. And we continue on. Ignalia.
Hooray. I'll finish the job on the Ettercap with a 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Nope,
God,
it
those are
misses.
the 4th ones on damage I've rolled.
Yeah. How much damage does it actually take?
12 total. Which, screw that, I'll just smite on top of it.
Okay.
So it takes 10 radiant.
Okay. Yeah, that'll finish it off.
The spider to the left of it will also take 13 fire.
Bring
Okay,
on the
it's gone.
spiders. I want it.
And then
We
I
want more of
will,
them.
second action attack the one to my south.
Also hit. Also dead.
Alright. I feel good.
All right. Anything else?
No, good for me. I'll leave something for Rogar.
Okay. All right. So Ignalia, igniting her blade, starts swinging it through the air, fire leaping to and from the foes, and the blade striking true, taking out all 3 of these creatures. Only one left beside her. This guy's dead. Rogar, you're up.
One side Ignalia. Let's stab it as well.
15 will hit. And stab it through the head again. Anything else?
No.
All right. Let me just remove all the dead bodies off the turn order here.
This is
Yep.
fine.
And Tara.
All right, rinse and repeat.
One
15
guy
and
left.
15.
Both hit. And go ahead and describe
All right,
as Mr. Pebbles finishes off the last giant spider.
Tara's gonna walk up next to him as he smashes down on it, and she hears it squish, and she's gonna go, "Not high quality opponents."
There's a lot of spiders.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use my medic belt finally.
You have a medic belt?
Yeah. I'm going to use some of the charge in it to generate positive energy and make it flow into the Rogar.
Thanks.
15 healing. There you go. Alrighty. So as you find yourself briefly surrounded by all these arachnid type creatures, but able to fend them off, you saw that some of them were trying to get ready to run away, but they didn't have the chance to do so with the party moving forward aggressively. Able to slay them all. You still hear skittering and this clicking sound coming from around you, but it seems like it's moving a bit away from you at this point as you continue on through the dark and scary forest.
Kind of envision Stone Skull after that's like that panting, like, oh wait, we're done. Oh, fine.
Rage finally follows. You're like, all right,
Damn
I
it.
guess.
Haste us too, and now you're just tired.
Now I'm just tired.
All right.
Sorry
So
about
I'm assuming.
burning you, Steve.
Yeah. You gave me warning. That was kind of bright, though.
Just get rid of the. If I've learned anything about spider's web, it doesn't do a whole lot against fire.
Yeah, I've seen arachnophobia. I saw what he did with that aerosol can.
Yeah. He got wrapped up in it. I don't know what's gonna happen here, but I'm gonna get you free, buddy.
All right.
Havoc,
I'm assuming.
I'm gonna pull some sorcerer nonsense, so I'm gonna channel sorcery points into spell slots and then draw from my sword.
Okay. Just make sure you do all the math and everything for it. All right. Assuming you're all carrying forward, not stopping.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
You feel the hours starting to build on a bit. Not quite to the point where you're going to suffer exhaustion, but you have gone, pushing into the late hours now without resting, minus the day you kind of spent restful. So I'm kind of giving y'all extra on because y'all didn't really do anything strenuous the day before. As you continue on, everybody give me a perception checks. Tara with advantage.
God. Still coming down from rage. Sorry.
Just what are spiders?
Where's the spiders?
All right. So as you
Totally
continue
gone on
forward,
stupid spiders.
you find yourself moving through this forest. Still, the webs and the gnarled trees all around you, giving off a very, not necessarily sickly, but definitely disconcerting feel all around you. As you continue forward, Tara, Max, and Rogar, you start to hear a change in the sounds around you. You almost hear the sound of, and more so, you initially get the smell of water, though it smells a bit tainted, a bit sour, but it starts whiffing this natural smell of water going through your nostrils. And then after a few more steps, you start to hear something in the distance ahead of you. It sounds like rushing water crashing down and impacting, just that dull roar up ahead in the distance.
Did someone say waterfall?
They mentioned something about.
Well, no, somebody said it'd be cool if it was behind a waterfall. Who
Oh.
did, Scott?
Yeah. I call
Oh. Yes.
I am Indiana Jones. I do not talk to aliens.
Yeah, we'll press on.
Okay.
Imagine all of us like grabbing a couple of coins out of our pocket to acknowledge his outstretched palm. Like, I called it. Come on, pay up. Yeah, here.
I do my dance.
Don't go chasing waterfalls unless you're hunting dragons. Misty Forest. Fair.
You know, we never found a good way to name ourselves.
Nope. I was gonna leave it up to chat tonight to decide what we're gonna name ourselves.
Gotta earn our name.
We're
We haven't earned
40.
it.
We're 42 sessions in. We've earned a name by now.
All right. So as you continue forward, you hear the sound, and the foliage before you starts to break free and grow smaller ahead of you. As you move forward, and all of you clearly hearing the sound of rushing water ahead, you break through into a somewhat large clearing, and you see why the clearing exists here. Before you, you see a large waterfall. And at the foot of it, you see this huge pool of water that seems to sink down to the point where you can't see the bottom of it, whether that's due to the darkness or the rushing water constantly causing the water to be, changed up and moving constantly. It's hard to tell. You see, as you're looking through it, even in the darkness, you see the surface of this pool is almost obscured by an emerald haze. Sitting at the top of it, almost blending in with the mist of the water as it crashes down from a waterfall about 80 to 100 feet up above your head as you're looking up to the side of this large hill and mountain kind of before you.
Hey,
As you look forward, you see the water crashing and such, but you clearly see water, and you clearly see that this obscured area you've been making your way through definitely resembles that of either a lair of something menacing, whether it be a dragon or whatnot. Can't see anything.
Nothing. Completely
Nope,
black.
only darkness. Darkness.
Nah.
Only darkness.
What are you putting stuff on the map for?
I didn't mean
This
to.
would
It
be
was
able
stuck
to
on my
tear
mouse.
down this wall.
Can anybody see anything?
No.
Stream view can't even see anything.
It's all black.
Interesting.
Yep.
You're on the right layer.
Lighting.
I think Roll20 is having an issue because I can't pull up y'all's token stuff now.
Oh.
I'm refreshing. Let's see.
I just did that when it came up black.
Well,
Let's see that. Let's
We got
check your
stuck at
lighting.
critically hitting.
Refreshing as well to see if I can at least modify y'all's tokens now. There we go. Has sight, 35 feet. Oh god, Stone Soul is gigantic.
I mean, he kind
Oh
of
god, that's lagging. Fucking everything. Delete. Thank you.
is. I still don't see anything though.
Let's
Let's
try dragging and
refresh.
dropping the token again. Does that give you any sight?
I'm refreshing to see what happens. We have nothing. Roll 20.
You have
Why
dark
do you
vision. You
forsake
should
us?
be able to see. The fuck is going on here? Is there weird? Ah, that's why. Okay. Thanks, Roll20.
Hit like magical darkness or something.
No, Fog of War was turned on. It wasn't supposed to be.
There we go.
Y'all should be able to see now.
Yep.
Yay.
Okay. Cool. So that's something I have to check after that update, is make sure Fog of War wasn't turned on all the fucking maps. Okay. All right. So now that you can clearly see the waterfall before you, you see it raging before you, splashing water down, and the spray of it once again carrying on this bit of an emerald haze, kind of matching the green foliage around your feet. You seem to have found a place that matches some of the clues that you've been given up to this point between them heading to the southeast and the rider of this dragon, who you now know to be Neurovane, always appearing that his clothing and hair was wet every time he visited and talked to Galen. And you find yourself at the mouth of this waterfall as well as this pool. But that is where we're going to end the session for the evening.
Oh.
Bastard.
Show you a new map. Ha! Nothing. Just
You see
no.
it? You see it?
You see it? Good.
Cool. It's gone.
Good. It's gone.
I felt it coming.
Yeah. Fucking Roll20 issues stumbled on my intro or my outro.
All right. Gonna end stream and I'll be back.
Bye, stream.
Bye, stream.
Bye.